Good afternoon, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the DotCom magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. And I am so excited to have a fun show today. I have on the show the person that I call the king of coffee, Mr. Jim Fosina. Jim is the founder and CEO of Amora Coffee. And when it comes to subscription models, this is one that you want to pay attention to. They've been in business for over 10 years. And when you want premium coffee delivered right to your door or right to your business, well, Amora Coffee's become the go-to company for premium coffee being delivered. So Jim, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Andy, thank you very much. Looking forward to joining you today and everybody who's listening in.
Thank you very much. Well, this is very exciting because I start my day every day with really just a half cup of coffee just to get me going. So many people love coffee, and especially your coffee at Amora Coffee. Let's pull the lens back a little bit and just tell the listening and viewing audience what Amora Coffee is all about.
Amora Coffee is all about the love of coffee. So Amora, it stands for love, and when you really break down the name, it's aroma spelled backwards. And so we started with one of the key items of coffee, which is that smell and the aroma, and obviously the taste. And that's how Amora was born, out of our love for coffee. So myself and our co-founder Marina, we love the taste of coffee. We probably do more than a half a cup of coffee in the morning. So it got to the point where we decided that we really wanted to have our own coffee business. See,
I love that. And I really like what Amora is doing. And when you look at Amora and it's spelled backward, it spells aroma. That's unbelievable. What a branding bonanza you've got there with that name. I love that very much. Now, your coffee is roasted in the USA by a 5th generation master roaster. And a lot of people don't really know what that is, but that's why your coffee, one of the reasons why your coffee tastes so good and is so amazing. So let's tell our audience a little bit about that.
So when it comes down to coffee, it's going to come down to that taste. It's going to come down to the aroma, the smell. It's highly focused on your 2 primary sensories. And coffee, you either like a particular brand of coffee or you really don't like a particular brand of coffee. And we can see that with coffees out there. So it was super important to us that we had a very consistent roasting process and profile. And so we go through a 9-stage roasting process, and we decided that we wanted to use a partner who is right here in the United States. We bring beans in from all around the world, and we blend and we roast and we grind and do all of that right here in the US. We are not bringing any finished product in from outside the US. 5th generation master roasters, they've been at it for quite some time, and they are a family organization. We're a family organization. They take as much passion and pride in the development and the quality of the coffee as we do. And so our value proposition to our consumers is value fresh coffee.
See, that's amazing. And I love coffee. And when you do a taste test and you put Amora coffee next to some of the other coffees that are out there, Amora really shines through with regard to the way that it tastes, the deepness and the richness of it. And do you say that that's because of your master roasters and the way in which they're able to sort of put the recipe, if you will, together?
It's sort of a biased point of view for me, but absolutely, yes. We take great pride in our blends and our origins and making sure that we are delivering as close to a perfect cup of coffee as we can, and trying to bring the bean into the home, into the cup, just as fresh as we can. And that's how we differentiate ourselves. We're also very highly focused on how we're even packaging our coffee. If you notice, our coffee only comes in 8-ounce packages rather than 12-ounce or 16-ounce packages, so that you're opening small portions at a time and not exposing that to air and oxygen for too long of a time. You'll also see that we do not have K-Cups on our website, and there's a real reason for that. We roast and deliver and get to our consumers as fast as we can, but when you're doing K-Cups, you have to run in essentially a high volume type of manufacturing line. And then, of course, the K-cup extraction is never going to be as good as a traditional pour-over steeping type of extraction.
That's awesome. And I know one of the things that you're known for over at Amora Coffee is that you hand pack your coffee in foil-lined bags to protect the flavor and the freshness. And that's really amazing that you do that. So we want to talk about entrepreneurship in a little bit, but I want to follow along the path talking about the coffee itself, because so many people drink coffee throughout the United States and the world. And when you ship your coffee, Jim, are you shipping it worldwide, or right now are you mostly located in the United States?
We're solely focused in the United States right now. And so as we know, 80+% of all Americans are drinking some type of coffee on a very regular basis. And so we are shipping to an awful lot of people right here in the United States. And for us, what we really look to differentiate ourselves from is we're not just another coffee company that, as a result of COVID, has decided that they were going to go direct. Amora has been around for 10 years. And prior to that, my co-founder and I have an additional 20 years of experience in direct-to-consumer coffee coming out of Kraft Foods and managing Javalia Coffee, both as employees of Kraft Foods, but also within our agency, Fosina Marketing Group, that we ran for 17 or 18 years. So we have been focused on direct-to-consumer subscription coffee for 30 years. And we understand direct-to-consumer subscription. We understand what the consumer wants, and we do that by listening to the consumer. And this was not just a channel shift or change for us, because the world had to move to a direct-to-consumer model. This is a very well-formulated, oiled type of machine where we understand how to get coffee into the hands of consumers.
Well, there's no doubt that you have master roasters, and you guys are the masters of understanding the business model. So that's awesome, Jim. So a lot of people, when they have a cup of coffee, Jim, they drink it, they love it, they add their whatever they're going to add to it, or they drink it, black. And they're not really thinking about the care necessary to get that coffee bean into the right place so that it makes them a wonderful cup of coffee. So when we think about the coffee beans themselves, what areas of the world are most of the coffee beans being brought in from by Amora?
Wow, that's a big loaded question, because we're coming from all over the world. We're coming from Colombia, Brazil, Indonesia, Tanzania, Costa Rica. It's all over the world. And what's really important to us is that as we are putting our blends together and maintaining the very high level of standard and quality that we require, our customers require, is we're always searching out the best, most productive, most fruitful crop that is available at that time during the year. So we're very careful to say we just bring coffee in from one particular origin, because there is variability around the world as to how coffee crops are maturing and growing from year to year. So a very keen eye on quality and managing our blends to keep to the taste profile that our consumers like. And our consumers have several different taste profiles. One of the things we love most about our consumers is they're very experimental, and they'll try a particular product, and if they like it, they'll still try another product. But even if they don't like it, we'll replace that package and let them try something else, because it really is a preference.
See, that makes all the sense in the world. So that really provides your consumers a consistent product, and it puts them in the position to enjoy that cup of Java, every morning in the same way. So that leads me to the question about blending, because the coffees are so consistent. So is there almost like a taste tester in coffee, like they would have at a wine at a wine production facility, where you're tasting the coffee to make sure that it's consistent with what Amora wants people to be able to taste every morning?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every batch is taste tested at some level within our operation. So I don't personally taste every single batch because what's really interesting is we roast in small batches and we could roast in 60, 70, 80, 90 pound batches in order to maintain that quality and consistency. But we hand pack millions of bags of coffee and send that out to our consumers. And so there is a lot of quality control that is going into not only making sure that the blend is exactly where we want it to be, but is the roast profile hitting exactly where we want to be. And that's in our base blends. And then, of course, we have flavored coffees, and those flavored coffees can range from a vanilla, a hazelnut, a cinnamon, a pumpkin spice, of course. Right now, we're doing a lot of chocolate cherry around Valentine's Day. And believe it or not, our customers love blueberry in the spring. Go figure it out, but they love blueberry. But even there, it is super important that we're making sure that we have the right amount of flavoring in our coffee. Otherwise, we could tip it to a position that may not be desirable.
That's unbelievable. So something that so many people in the morning, millions and millions, perhaps billions of people in the world take for granted their cup of coffee. There's really so much behind it. And then when you start moving into the premium quality coffees, there's even more behind it, especially when you get into the flavors of the coffee. So when we talk about flavored coffee, when we talk about a vanilla flavored coffee, that's something that your master roasters and tasters sort of blend together in your facility here in America. Will you explain the way that works a little bit?
Absolutely. It's all done right here in our facility. So we'll bring in our blends and we will blend to the proper profile. We will roast to the proper profile, and then we will flavor to the proper profile, all within a very short amount of time, from green coffee out of burlap all the way through grinding, hand packed into our foil-lined bags, of which we have a one-way valve on the bag because we pack it so quickly that we need to make sure that the coffee can expel any of its gases so that it doesn't blow up the package. And all of that is happening right here in home. And, when you talk about consumers waking up in the morning and coffee it's expected. I'll never cross over to the line of, well, it's one of those basic needs, rights items. Okay. But it certainly is a highly desired morning beverage, but it's also finding its way throughout the entire day. And one of the things that we have found and that we are addressing during COVID-19 is that all of us used to go to the office in one fashion or another, and we'd either stop at our favorite cafe and we'd pick up our favorite cup of joe or whatever concoction we're going to build with a coffee base. And then we'd get to work, and whether there was a barista in the facility or in the office or just a coffee pot there was coffee all day long. And now we're all working from home. I'm in my home library, okay, and we're all working from home. And the concept of coffee in the office that was always there isn't there anymore. So we have a very significant focus on bringing coffee into the household for consumers who used to get it at home, at the office, okay? But by doing that, by working with some of these larger companies. And that's really the larger companies send the coffee to their team.
See, that makes all the sense in the world, because in the many offices that I've worked at or companies that I've owned with employees, you always saw people all day long drinking that coffee. So this is more than just a morning situation. People like to drink that throughout the day. And now that they're home, they want to drink a high quality coffee at home as well. Now, when we talk about international beans, and I know this is getting in the weeds, but I'm very fascinated about it, and I think our listeners and our viewers will be very fascinated about it as well, Jim. Is there one country that would be surprising to our listeners that do such a great job with their coffee beans throughout the world?
I don't know whether it would be surprising, but again, one of my own personal biases is coffee that is sourced out of Costa Rica is just fabulous, top of the line coffee.
See, that's awesome. That's awesome. So Costa Rica will have to ship their beans to you in your United States facility. How do those beans get there? I mean, are they shipped to a port in the United States, or are they flown here? How did the beans get here and stay so fresh?
They are. So the green bean in burlap bags come by boat, and they come into a port, and then they will travel over the road into our facility where we have climate controlled storage. And a green bean will last in a burlap bag for a very long time. So a green bean has a very long lifespan. Once you roast the bean is when the true lifespan of the bean starts to accelerate. And so for us, it's very important that once we roast and we grind or we leave it whole bean, is to get it into the bag as quickly as possible and out of an oxygenated state. And one of the reasons why we hand pack all of our bags is because we don't like to use a machine mechanism of blowing beans, roasted beans, through cylinders and exposing them to additional oxygen, even if it's nitrogen based. Our feeling is let's get it into the bag, let's get the bag sealed, and let's get the bag on its way to the consumer as quickly as possible. So once you get it into the bag, it's now sitting in the bag, and with our two-way valve, with our one-way valve technology, we have a pretty good lifespan on our roasted coffee. It can last for a long time. Once you open that bag, it is very critical that you're using that coffee fairly soon. And for most of our customers, we'll send them a free canister. It's an airtight canister so that they can store their coffee in the airtight canister, because we don't want that bag just sitting on the counter or in the pantry. And never put your bag of coffee in the refrigerator or the freezer. It acts like baking soda, and it picks up all of the horrible odors that you would find in a refrigerator or a freezer.
See, that makes a lot of sense in the world. And for our younger entrepreneurs watching the show, listening to the show on our podcast, something comes clear and through from Jim in a very, very big way. That's an entrepreneur learning experience. And what that is when you're in business, you're in it. You know what's going on in your business. And listening to Jim, you may be saying to yourself, wow, this guy is the king of coffee. He knows everything about coffee, from how it gets from point A to B, how it gets delivered. He has a proprietary way to pack it, why they hand pack it, how they get it to you, the way in which they get it to you. Everything under the sun with regard to coffee, he knows. And for those younger entrepreneurs, you have to be in your business to be successful. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't bring advisors in or ask questions to people that know things that you don't. It just means that when you're in business, you really have to know and understand what's going on in your business, like Jim does in the coffee business. Now, Jim, let's talk about entrepreneurship just for a minute, because obviously you're a successful founder and CEO at Amora Coffee. What was the hardest thing when you first started your company? What was the hardest thing for you?
So I've started a few different companies, and from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and I would say the absolute hardest thing about starting a new company is thinking that you need to know it all. You need to have a pulse on everything. But I was advised very early on in my entrepreneurial initiatives that it is critically important to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you are in their area of expertise. So while I understand the entire roasting process, I'm not roasting the coffee. While I understand the entire customer service process, I'm not running the customer service center. But we have highly qualified people who are highly focused on the day-to-day activities of each. So trying to do it all by yourself as you're entering into the entrepreneurial world, that's probably the hardest thing, because as you're entering into the entrepreneurial world, there's probably not a lot of investment that is available for you to just surround yourself immediately with a lot of people. I'd say the second thing is you really have to roll up your sleeves, but you have to have tough skin. And so you have to be prepared for disappointment, and you need to turn that disappointment into an opportunity. And you need to be prepared to hear the answer no. And if the answer is no, that doesn't mean you've hit a roadblock. That just means you need to find another way around. And that's probably one of the hardest things on a day-to-day basis. Is you're always going to be faced with, big jubilation, okay, as well as disappointments. And you need to be able to balance both of them out in a manner that's going to drive to your ultimate goal.
See, that's great advice, very sage. When we speak to founders and we speak to investment bankers and angel investors, venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, Latin America, they're looking for the same thing. They're looking for a leader, but they want to know what the team looks like, because there's no Amelia Earharts anymore. There's no single flyers anymore. Everybody needs to be surrounded with somebody or a group that can bring something to the table to make that team as powerful as it possibly can be. And when we talk about being in the business, that's what we're talking about. You need to know your business, but obviously surround yourself with a great team and bring on people that know how to do things that you don't know how to do to complement your skill set. When we talk about Amora coffee, Jim, and we talk about these master roasters, someone might be saying to themselves, wow, this sounds like a really great job. I get to mix and match beans and taste coffee all day and put out an amazing product that people are going to love, like at Amora. How do I become a master roaster? How do you find a master roaster for your business?
So being a master roaster and managing that entire process, number one, it's very scientific. Number two, you have to have a very highly trained palate, really understand the boundaries of what's within spec and what's not within spec, and also the ability to be able to stand next to a roaster that has quite the heat firing from that roaster on a day in and day out basis. It's warm. It might be great on a day when it's 10 degrees outside, but when it's 100 degrees outside, it gets even warmer. And what I find really interesting is the entire coffee landscape is changing. It changes quicker every year over the past 10 years than it has over the past 40 years. And so coffee and coffee as a base to a beverage is becoming much more prominent than that of the fizzy drinks or the sugary drinks. And our audiences are becoming younger and drinking coffee in the morning and drinking coffee in the afternoon and the evening. And even those who don't want coffee in the evening, we offer them a tea line. But as coffee is not going to stop expanding. Coffee is here to stay. Coffee is here to grow. And so anybody who's looking to be a master roaster, there's going to be a lot of companies out there who are looking for that. One piece of advice I can give is, as you're thinking through your entrepreneurship, whether it's coffee or whatever it might be, a very wise man told me once, who's to this day is still my mentor. He said, if you plan on going big or going home, you're probably going to go home, and slow and steady is going to win the race. So if you're going to try and go big, you're probably doing an immediate go big. You're probably doing a disservice to yourself, a disservice to your organization, and a disservice to your consumers. That doesn't mean you can't go big. Okay, you just need to go big in a very disciplined manner. Slow and steady wins the race, always will.
See, I love that. And you've been able to do that with Amora over 10 years. If we look at the landscape or the footprint of Amora? Are there certain states in the United States where you see, hey, these people in this particular area of the U.S. really love our Amora coffee, and maybe other areas haven't quite found out about us yet, or you have a footprint throughout the United States that's pretty equal?
So we don't have an equal footprint, but we do have a presence in each one of the states where we do have buyers in each one of the states. And so you would think the more coffee consumption areas are consuming more coffee, and yes, that's what we're seeing. So we see a very heavy presence on the East Coast, a very heavy presence on the West Coast. We see a presence in a lot of rural area where it's hard to receive high quality coffee without having to drive very far for it. And so we provide the convenience of bringing it right to your home. And so we really do have a pretty nicely mixed footprint of customers throughout the United States.
See, I love that. And for the people that are running their own companies or have larger companies, Inc. 500 companies, Fortune 500 companies, or somewhere in between that are watching the show, this type of coffee, this premium coffee, might even be looked at as a nice perk for your employees, because if they are going to start coming back into the facility or into the office, that's a nice way to sort of give them a nice perk or a nice something for saying, hey, you're doing a good job. You know, this terrible coffee we've been serving you for a number of years, we've upgraded, and now we're giving you Amora coffee, which is an amazing, thing for the owners of the companies to give their employees. I would imagine they're going to love that very much. When we talk about, Jim, the way in which coffee has now evolved to the point where people want coffee, but maybe they want to change it a little bit later. Maybe they still want a nice hot beverage like a tea. You had mentioned that you now have a tea line, perhaps for those people later in the day that want still some nice, hot, fresh, substance to put into their mouth to help them enjoy the day. Tell us about your tea line a little bit.
So we have a tea line, and our tea line is probably about 7 years old, and we have black teas and herbal teas and green teas, and we have quite a few customers that subscribe to both coffee and tea, either because they're drinking coffee in the morning or tea in the afternoon, or they have a coffee drinker in the home and a tea drinker in the home. And what we're finding is that, at least for Amora, it's experience, and it's whether it's coffee or whether it's tea, it's the experience of being able to bring this very high quality product into your home. And yes, they're paying a premium price for it. Our coffee is $30 a pound. And so they are paying a premium price for it, but we're bringing them a premium experience and a premium product. And so they're looking for that experience in the home. And so right now it's coffee and it's tea, and we have other line extensions that are on in the research and development phase right now, as we launch more product to bring into the home for that consumer's experience. And, one of the things that we have found, and even going back to the whole work at home, is that, the virtual coffee break is as popular as the virtual cocktail hour. And so even if it's just in the middle of the day and you're getting your team or your family together, or, family is spread apart, our teams are spread apart, and it's that experience again, where, we provide the Amora coffee hour. And it's the Amora coffee break. Just like so many companies participate and so much family participates in the virtual online cocktail hour. It's that experience, and so many people do things together over coffee. Coffee is that common denominator of experience and friendship and camaraderie. So it's for us, it's more about customer experience than it is to sell coffee beans. It's that customer experience is our number one priority. And we have a motto in our team: any customer that contacts us has to leave in a better frame of mind than before they contacted us. Even if they contacted us in a great frame of mind. That's what we look for. We love coffee and we like to share love. That's what we like to do.
I love that, Jim. Let's move on a little bit and take what you just said and let's expand on that just a little bit, because you really hit at one of the main reasons why your company is really one of the leaders in the space, because it's the way you take care of your customers. And so many younger entrepreneurs and even established entrepreneurs, they sort of forget that the customer is the person that makes the whole thing work. And if you don't take care of that customer and you don't make them feel a little bit better than when they contacted you or they called you or they engaged with you, you really have done them a disservice with your brand. So let's just talk about that a little bit. When people contact you at Amora and they want to engage or discuss it, is there someone that they actually physically get to speak with, or is it all done online at this point?
So Amora Coffee is the service you control. And again, you've seen a lot of these companies pop up who are providing direct-to-consumer services, including coffee, okay, because our world has changed and they may or may not be thinking through exactly what you said. So for Amora Coffee, you can reach a live customer concierge 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, including holidays. If you call, we're there. If you want to chat, we're there. And we're talking about during even COVID, where a lot of our customer service concierges are having to work from home. And it's okay if you have the occasional dog barking in the background or the baby crying in the background, because we're here to talk to our customers. If you email us, we are going to get back to you within the same day, pretty much. We will, so you can email, or you can go to your online customer service dashboard, which a lot of these direct-to-consumer subscription e-commerce companies rely on the consumer just going in and utilizing their online dashboard. Of course, consumers want to use an online dashboard, but there are also consumers that want to have a conversation with you. And if they've welcomed you into their home with your product, how dare us not welcome them into our home to speak to our concierge? And so if you're not willing to do that and you're not willing to invest in that relationship with the customer, well, then your offering truly is one-sided.
Jim, that's incredible to hear. I mean, you just don't hear that very much anymore. And that's why you've become really the leader in the space by providing this type of support, this type of communication, and really this passion to want to hear from your customers. Because I know throughout the years, you listen to your customers, and when your customers tell you something, as the CEO and the founder, when it finally gets, on your desk, you're paying attention. And that's the way in which you've been able to build this business. And you just don't hear that very often anymore. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the tea, just kind of bring the wagon back a little bit more about the tea. I think what's going to happen is as the pandemic, God willing, starts slowing down and coming to a close, then I think people are going to want to have tea parties, tea time in the afternoon, and invite their friends over and have something nice to eat and have some wonderful tea to drink, sort of like in an old-fashioned kind of a way. I'm thinking we're going to go back to maybe some old-fashioned type ways after this pandemic's over. So I would think that would come in very handy to know that you've got different teas that you can provide for these tea parties. And those are all produced, again, at your facility here in the United States, Jim?
So we use a separate facility for producing our tea. And so all of our tea is organic, and we only harvest from a tippity top of the tea leaf bushes for the tea leaves to bring in the most flavorful types of teas. We pack them into starch-like biodegradable sachets. so that that everything about our tea and tea bag experience is fully green and sustainable. And right now we pack them in these cute little tins, and they will. Our customers love the tins. They're always repurposing the tins for one fashion or another. But from the tea side, I agree with you that once COVID passes and consumer purchase behavior has shifted, and there'll be some bubbles. Like, for example, once we're allowed to go out to eat in restaurants again, all the direct-to-consumer meal plans will probably start their apex and start coming to a little bit more of a normalized level. But they will indeed still have a higher buyer base because we've changed globally. Consumer behavior has changed. But I do think that once we're all allowed to come back out, some of the traditions of past that maybe we have forgotten is going to come back into play, because I think all of us at one time or another have said, wow, I took that for granted and I wish I could go back and I can go do that. And, especially with this separation of family and friends, and people are going to be dying to be sitting around the table or in their parlor, if you would, to have their cup of coffee or tea. So, and that's one of the reasons why Amora is also very highly focused on bringing other experiential items into the household for our consumers.
So I know you have a lot on tap for the future with what you've been able to build at Amora, Jim. I know that people listening to this and watching this are saying to themselves, I wish I had a cup of Amora right in front of me right now, and they're going to think about maybe going to their local store and getting some, but they're not going to be able to find Amora at the local store.
Correct.
They only can get it through Amora. You can't buy it at your local store right now, and there's a reason for that. So if people want to enjoy this premium blended coffee after 10 years of putting out this coffee to thousands and thousands of happy coffee drinkers throughout the United States, Jim, how do they contact Amora? How do they get engaged? How do they get that shipment coming to their home because they want to try it so badly? After hearing the King of Coffee talk about it, I actually want a cup right now.
Well, first of all, it's easy to find us. We are at amoracoffee.com. And when you get to amoracoffee.com, you can either buy one bag or you can subscribe. If you subscribe, we're going to give you your first bag for free. As a matter of fact, right now we have a Valentine's special happening. And if you want to subscribe, you'll not only get your first bag for free, but we'll also send you a free bag of our chocolate cherry coffee for Valentine's Day. But as you do that and you subscribe, you're going to have the opportunity to go into your dashboard and determine which products do I want my future shipments, and how often do I want it, and do I want 2 bags or 4 bags or 6 bags every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or 6 weeks. And so, again, it's the service that you control. And one of the things that we're probably most proud of is our 100% satisfaction guarantee. No questions asked. If the product didn't meet your expectations, it just didn't meet your taste preference, no problem. Either send it back, donate it. Right now, with everything that's going on in the world, where we're asking our consumers to donate any product that they want to return, donate it to your local food kitchen. This way somebody else can partake in it. But our satisfaction guarantee is, for whatever reason, at any time, let us know, and we either replace it or we'll refund you. And we stand on the merit of our product and the merit of our service, and not on business rules. And I think that's important for any entrepreneur, is to stand on your own merit, okay? Because that's your brand, okay? My brand is not Amora Coffee. My brand is Jim Fosina. And once you establish yourself as a brand, and the level of integrity you can establish for yourself, then any brand you launch is going to have the same type of integrity. And that's something that's just crazy critical for me, is to make sure that brand integrity, starting with yourself, is paramount.
Jim, that's unbelievable. That is really a great way to end the show, because we talk so much about branding and so much about delivering on your promises, and you're sort of at the pinnacle of that, and you believe in that wholeheartedly. It's so easy to see through the video and listening to your voice what you're all about and what Amora is all about. And don't forget, people at home, Amora spelled backwards is aroma. So you get Amora, aroma at the same time. And coffee is all really about the taste and the smell. And with Amora coffee, obviously you get the world's best coffee blended by these fifth generation roast masters at Jim's company. Jim, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show today, talking about Amora coffee, and then entrepreneurship and branding and personal branding and delivering on your promises as well. It's been a real delight. And I wanted to thank you for slicing some time out today.
Well, Andy, thank you very much from our family to all of your families out there. Thank you, and love coffee and share love.